So first of all, I think it's important to note that I was not planning on getting pregnant in 2020. Hey guys, Ebony Powell here, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about being pregnant in a pandemic, because that was my 2020 story, and it was a crazy, wild one. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. My husband and I had been talking about possibly trying come Christmas of 2020. And then it just so happens that, we had a baby in December of 2020. And it was honestly the most craziest, wildest ride that we were not expecting, along with plenty of other people who got pregnant during this pandemic season. I think it was March 13th. We were still living in Los Angeles, and we got the call, or I got the call, that my school would be canceling classes. And from then on, it was just us being in the house and whatnot. And that first week, my husband became a bona fide bartender. Are you good? He became a bona fide bartender, and we just had happy hour every day. And literally the first week of us being in quarantine, I got pregnant. And I remember just being like so completely shocked that it happened so quickly. Like I said, we weren't expecting that at all. I know some of the things that we were thinking of was, number one, how were we going to do this? How were we going to afford this? We had Milo, of course, who was going to be 2. He had just turned 1. It's expensive living in Los Angeles. It's expensive to live there. It's expensive to live there with a child, let alone 2. And it's not like we were just, rolling in the dough. So we decided to, make a move. It was the Saturday before Mother's Day. I woke up to 20-something texts from Vincent, and he was sending me all of these possible homes in Houston. And we had been kind of going back and forth about was it smart to move back home. And in my mind, we had just kind of settled on it wasn't the right time just yet. So when I woke up to all of these text messages about us moving, I was just like, are you serious? I was so excited. And so we talked about it that Saturday, and that following week we were packing up Milo and all of his things and getting him ready to come back to Houston to be with the grandparents for a while. And it was such a insane and wild time, because we were moving Milo to Houston. The plan was to move him first, drive down to Houston, let our parents know that, hey, we're gonna move back to Houston, and we were going to leave him there, fly back to LA, and finish packing up the apartment, and fly or drive back to Houston. And then all of that changed once we got on the road to Houston. I didn't realize that because of the pandemic, there were no bathrooms that were open, hardly, and of course, when you're in your early pregnancy, you have to pee all the time. And so that was just really difficult because at one point I had to, just pee in a cup, because I couldn't get a bathroom that was open to me. And Milo definitely wasn't as forgiving on the road. He was a lot more cranky and squirmy and all of those things. And at the same time, I was still teaching because my school didn't end classes for the summer until June. So we moved in May. We came down to Houston in May. So it's like I'm on the road teaching and doing classes online and also being pregnant and having to go to the bathroom all the time and dealing with this toddler, and then also dealing, with trying to help my husband stay sane and all of these different things. It was just wild. And we finally get to Houston. We finally get to Houston, and by the time we got to Houston, we had already made the decision that I was not going to go back to LA because it was just way too much on my body being pregnant. And so we got to Houston, told our parents, hey, we're here and we're not going back. And of course, they were over the moon excited about it because they not only had their kids back, but they had their grandson back, and they were about to have another grandson. And then after that, it was more so just, of course, trying to find a place. We moved in with my parents for about a month, and we had to find a home. Shout out to our cousins, Jared and Deidre, who helped us find our home and settle in. And all of that was, it just happened very, very quickly. One of the hardest things about being pregnant during this pandemic was being in the house all of the time. So I wasn't getting as much sunlight and vitamin D as I needed to. And at one point I just got extremely tired all the time. I was exhausted and I couldn't figure out why. And I was just like I was in my second trimester. So I was thinking this shouldn't be happening because this didn't happen the last time. Second trimester is when you get all of this energy, and that just was not happening for me. And then I went to the doctor and she was just like, oh, it's because you have a vitamin D deficiency. So I had to get on vitamin D supplements, and I was doing that all the while battling some major self-esteem issues when it came to my body. I didn't lose as much weight as I wanted to after my pregnancy with Milo. I felt like I dropped some weight and then gained a little bit more, and so that was really, really tough. And I was trying to navigate how to get back into working out and living a healthy lifestyle and all of that, because I was very, very much into, my weekly workouts and making sure that I was eating a balanced meal and all of those things. And then it just kind of went out the window once I had my son and was trying to work and all of those different things. So when I got pregnant, I was heavier than I was before when I got pregnant with Milo. And of course, when you get pregnant the second time around, a lot of times for a lot of women, they show a lot quicker than before. So when I was 4 months, I was looking about maybe 6 months pregnant. And it was always like a dagger to me, because it's like I knew that was happening. I knew that I was significantly larger. I knew that I was showing a lot quicker. But what killed me was the fact that everyone felt the need to comment on it. And I knew that you deal with that with people, you know, when you're pregnant, people say the most insensitive and stupid things to you. But I just felt like it was all the time. It was, oh, you're only how many months old? That you're gonna have a huge baby, or oh my gosh, you are huge, or oh, you're showing already. And it was like the bane of my existence. And dealing with all of those comments and things that people were saying really prevented me from enjoying a good chunk of my pregnancy. There were a lot of times when, you know, my husband tried to encourage me and my mom tried to encourage me, and friends, they were like, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. You don't even look like you're however many months old. And I understood that, and I appreciated that, and I loved those people in my life for doing that for me. But at the same time, it was still something that I had to deal with all the time. I remember one time, I will never forget this, probably for the rest of my life. My mom and I were at Home Goods, and we were standing in line checking out, and this young girl was working the register, and I think I was about 37 weeks. It was about 37 weeks, and I walked up to her register to check out, and she goes, "Hi there, you look like you're about to pop." And I just looked at her, and I just was like, I'm 37 weeks. And she was like, do you know what you're having? And I said, no, I don't. And then she's like, I'm all in your business. Let me just stop. And I just looked at her like, yes, please stop. And that was just one of the many encounters that I had. So many women, especially older women, told me that I was going to have a huge baby, or I was going to have a big baby. And I just knew, because of course, like, I mean, you know your body. I just knew that that was not going to be the case. And Peyton came out to be exactly 7 pounds. And so I just thought it was just so funny that, you know, I had this little guy, and so many people told me that I was basically gonna have a 9-pounder. That was probably the hardest thing that I had to deal with. Of course, in a pandemic, you can't go anywhere. I was not paranoid, but I was very, very careful about where I went. Usually the places that I went was Target, Home Goods, and out to get something to eat. But other than that, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't go to friends' houses. I didn't go to parties. I didn't go to get-togethers like some people were doing, especially in Houston, because they just didn't believe in the pandemic here. Nobody was really social distancing, not like it was in LA. The only people that were at my house for the most part were family members, my parents and siblings, and then we had my friend Valerie, who was my model for my makeup class that I was taking at USC. She was over here helping me out. Juggling all of those things, juggling being pregnant and still teaching online and going to school online and having a toddler and having a husband and still trying to quarantine and all of those things was a lot to juggle, and it made me be very, very grateful for the decision that I made to not go back to work. I didn't want to deal with being pregnant and teaching during this pandemic season, because in Texas they weren't doing they were doing online, but it was a strong possibility that you would have to teach face to face, and so that was something that I didn't want to deal with. So the only thing that I was really kind of sinking my teeth into was school. And my fall semester was so difficult. It was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. But luckily my professors were so amazing and so clutch and so understanding. There were a couple of times where I didn't get assignments in on time, and they were just like, it's okay, you know, it happens. They were very cognizant of not just my needs as a person, as a woman who was pregnant, but also just the environment that everybody was in. Like, this whole pandemic year has been absolutely insane, and different people were dealing with different things, and so I was so grateful to them for that. Luckily, I was able to end the semester with a 4.0, and that was amazing. And it just showed how tough I was, and I was glad that I was able to end the school year strong. December 11th, we geared up and got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and headed to the hospital. And we brought home 3 days later Mr. Peyton Maxwell, who is sleeping like he always does, eats and sleeps. And so I'm so grateful to have him. I am so grateful that my pregnancy is over, because it wasn't anything that I just absolutely hated, but I was ready to be done with it. And I think now for sure we're gonna have about a 3-year waiting period before we decide to go for one last one. We said we'd try for one more, and if that's a girl, then amazing, and if it's not, then I will proudly be a boy mom. Now, being in this new year, there's so many different things that I want to tackle as far as being a mom and being a wife and being an educator and being a makeup artist, and now being a producer, because that is now one of the notches in my belt, and I'm proud to say that my husband is walking me through that. There's just so many different things that I want to accomplish. I'm grateful for all of the lessons that 2020 has taught me. It definitely taught me how to be a little bit more resilient and how to have some thick skin. And so I'm just looking forward to this next year, and I'm looking forward to thriving and growing as a person and as a business owner and as a brand and as a wife and as a mom and all of the many hats that I wear. So yeah, we'll see what happens. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, because I kind of feel like I was rambling, but also I feel like I needed to just talk about a couple of things. So thank you for watching. I will see you guys in my next video. Hopefully my next one will be a makeup video. I realized that I have not done a full-on makeup tutorial in a very long time, and even though my hands are full, I feel like I have just a little bit more creativity going on in my head. So I'm ready to get back in the chair and get some brushes in my hands. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.